Hey everyone, it's Devin from the Saltwater Edge. We're back again today to continue our conversation about saltwater fly tying basics. Today we're going to talk about feathers and how you can utilize them in your saltwater fly tying patterns. So undoubtedly the most common feather that we use in saltwater fly tying is the saddle hackle. Saddle hackles either come woven like this, it's called strung, where a string has woven together a bunch of loose feathers, or they can come on a hide like this. These are flat-wing saddles, which are basically just exceptionally long saddle hackles that we use a lot down here in Rhode Island for our saltwater patterns. The things that we look for in saltwater fly tying, when specifically looking at saddle hackles, are totally different than what the fly guys in freshwater are looking for. What we specifically look for is color, length, and webbiness when using our feathers. So color and length are pretty self-explanatory, but webbiness might not be. So the best way that I could describe webbiness is by visually showing you. So here is a standard saddle hackle. This is known for being a relatively not webby feather. So when I push it together, you can see all those barbules stand up individually. So now let's take a schlappen feather, which is renowned for its webbiness, and you'll see the difference when I do the exact same thing. Those barbules really do not want to separate, and they're very soft. It's just something to keep in mind when you're picking what feather to use. So another really common feather that we use in saltwater fly tying is marabou. And you can see just how soft and flowy this stuff is. And when it's in the water, it breathes life into flies that no synthetic material ever could. And we're going to show you how to palmer this for use in your saltwater fly tying. So before you start tying with feathers, it's important to understand some basic anatomy of the feathers themselves. So you can see here we have the base and the stem that runs all the way up through the feather. And you can see that this stem tapers all the way down to the wispy tip at the end. Something also to note is that these barbules transition into these soft plumes towards the base of the feather. We generally don't use these in our tying purposes, so we just strip them off before we tie the feather. Also important to understand that almost all feathers have a cup to them. You can see this one is cupped a little bit to my left here. And this is very important in tying because when you tie it to a hook shank, you can either tie the tail to be facing away from each other or cupped together, depending on the profile that you're looking for. So saddle hackle feathers are often tied in pairs. So I took two like feathers out of the strung bunch, and now we're going to prep them for tie-in. So when tying in a tail, general rule of thumb is to use the hook shank as your guide for consistency. So I'm going to tie this tail in 3 hook shanks in length. So I will take these saddle hackles. There is 1 hook shank. I will transpose that to the back. There's 2 hook shanks. Now strip these back, and now there's 3. So that is our length. You strip those barbules back, you trap them. So that is our set length. So now we're free to strip out the soft plumes at the base, which will make tying a lot easier. Now we can strip that back. Now we are ready to tie these in. So we will start our thread, cut off the excess. Now, something that I generally do before I tie these in, make sure that the cup sides are together, so they are uniform. Now, I will strip back just a little bit of those barbules. You'll see why in a second. And I will clip that. And now we have a very nice, very secure tie-in anchor. A little triangle right there that will really help secure it to our hook shank. When tying these in, if you want to tie them in perfectly horizontal to the axis of the hook shank, you might think that you just push it right on the side of the hook shank and roll it over and it'll be just fine. But you have to account for the thread torque when you do that. So I like to 45-degree angle it down away from the path of the thread, and that thread torque will carry it exactly where you want it, and you can see those are tied in perfectly horizontal now. We'll repeat this process for the other side. Nice thing about measuring it once is now you can just match them to be equal in length. Get that measurement. Strip out these soft plumes, as said before. Measure twice. Repeat the process of stripping back some of the barbules, giving yourself a nice tie-in anchor. Switch around. And now I will 45-degree it to the top side so that thread torque can carry it be perpendicular to the hook shank. And there is your deceiver style saddle hackle tail. So now we're going to talk about palmering some marabou. Marabou is an unbelievable material, and you can add it to almost any fly pattern and it'll make it better. So in terms of palmering, this thick stem at the bottom is going to be a problem. So we can just sweep that back, give it a clip right where the stem starts to get thick, and it'll just make our lives easier when we palmer this. A lot of the rules apply. A lot of the same rules apply. So we're going to sweep some fibers back, clip it, making our tie-in point again. Pin that right to the shank, fasten that. And now you can use hackle pliers for this, but I find that I like to use my fingers. So you're going to sweep all these soft plumes back, give it a wrap, sweep back. And this takes some finger dexterity. That's going to take some time, but just keep practicing and you'll start to get it. Sweep those back and keep wrapping up the hook shank and touching wraps, either until you run out of feather or until you're satisfied with how dense that palmering is. And now, once you get to the point where you want to tie it off, take your thread, wrap it up around that stem, trap it, pull back all those fibers, give it 2 good wraps. And you can trim off the excess and just brush it out. And now you have an awesome tail with just feathers. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something today about saltwater fly tying, specifically how to use feathers in your saltwater flies. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Call us at the Saltwater Edge. And check out Devin Fishing on Instagram if you want to learn more about saltwater fly tying.